Perfect. We're building this around. Red circle, when cats start talking back to their owner astonished face. But not as a cute compilation. We're turning it into a psychological plus behavioral investigative documentary. What does it really mean when your cat talks back? Is it manipulation, intelligence, a hidden stress signal, or something most owners completely misunderstand? This will feel shocking, scientific, slightly unsettling, but empowering at the end. Because of response length limits, I'll deliver this in 4 structured parts, each ~2,000 plus words. Here is Clapperboard Part 1, the moment your cat starts answering you. You've done this before. You walk into your home. You drop your keys. You say something simple like, "Hey, buddy." And your cat answers. Not a random noise. Not a background meow. An answer. And here's the question most owners never stop to ask. Is your cat actually responding to you? Or are they controlling the interaction? Because when cats start talking back, something shifts. It feels cute. It feels special. It feels like connection. But what if I told you? Experts warn that this behavior isn't random. It's learned. It's intentional. And in some cases, it's a sign of something deeper. Stay with me, because the most misunderstood, talking back, behavior might actually be a hidden stress signal most owners ignore. And yes, we'll show you exactly how to tell the difference. The lie we've been told about cat communication. Most people believe one thing. Cats just meow. That's it. Cute. Harmless. Simple. But here, what animal behavior researchers discovered. Adult cats almost never meow at each other. Let that sink in. In natural feline communication, adult cats rely mostly on body posture, tail signals, eye contact, scent marking. Meowing is primarily used between kittens and mothers. So when your adult cat talks back to you, they're using a sound they normally reserve for bobbies. Why? Because they've learned something shocking. You respond to it. And once they realize that, the dynamic changes. Now ask yourself, does your cat meow once? Or do they escalate when you ignore them? That escalation is where it gets interesting. How cats train their owners, not the other way around. Here, something behaviorists don't sugarcoat. Cats are masters of operant conditioning. Translation. They train you. You think you trained your cat to come when called. Look closer. Did you? Reward them with food. Speak in a softer tone. Immediately give attention. Now reverse it. When your cat meows loudly, increases pitch, walks toward the kitchen, looks at you, meows again, and you respond. They just reinforced your behavior. And the more you respond, the more precise their talking back becomes. Some cats even develop specific tones for food, different tones for attention, a completely different sound for discomfort. This isn't random noise. This is adaptive communication. And here's the twist most owners don't see. When a cat talks back, they're not just expressing emotion. They're measuring your reaction. The hidden intelligence behind talking back. A 2020 study on feline vocalization patterns found something surprising. Cats modify their vocal pitch based on which human they're interacting with. Not just generally. Specifically, higher pitch for nurturing individuals. Lower, shorter sounds for less responsive humans. Now ask yourself something honestly. Does your cat speak differently to you than to guests? Most people say yes. And that means your cat recognizes individual humans, adapts tone strategically, associates sound with outcome. That's not random. That's calculated. But here, where it gets even more shocking. Some veterinarians report that sudden increases in vocal backtalk are linked to thyroid issues, cognitive dysfunction, anxiety disorders, hearing loss, chronic pain, which means sometimes that cute talking back is not attitude, it's distress, and most owners miss it. The emotional manipulation loop. Let's talk about something uncomfortable. Have you ever said, "My cat argues with me"? Sounds funny, right? But what's actually happening is this. You speak. They vocalize. You respond emotionally. They escalate. You give in. Food. Attention. Playtime. Door opening. Now they've learned something dangerous. Persistence works. Over time, this can create what behaviorists call demand vocalization syndrome. It sounds dramatic, but it's real. Cats begin to interrupt sleep, scream near food bowls, meow relentlessly at closed doors, increase volume when ignored. And here's the part no one likes hearing. The more inconsistent your response, the stronger the behavior becomes. Because unpredictable rewards create stronger habits. It's the same psychological principle used in casinos. And yes, your cat can exploit it. But here, where it gets dark, not all talking back is manipulation. Some of it is a warning. Cats are instinctively wired to hide weakness. In the wild, showing pain equals vulnerability. So instead of limping dramatically, they vocalize subtly. They answer you more. They follow you more. They increase interaction. It looks affectionate. It feels bonding. But sometimes, it's compensation. Experts warn that increased vocalization, especially at night, can signal hypertension, kidney disease, hyperthyroidism, cognitive decline. And here's the scary part. Owners often describe these cases the same way. He just started talking more. If your cat suddenly won't let you out of sight, answers every sentence, meows in empty rooms, that's not sass. That's data. And you need to read it correctly. Why marketing romanticizes this behavior? Scroll through social media. You'll see captions like, "My cat has full conversations with me. It's like she understands everything. He argues back. Adorable. Viral." But here's what they don't tell you. Excessive vocalization is one of the top reported behavioral complaints in cats over age 8. And it often gets dismissed as personality, which delays diagnosis, which causes silent damage, and in some cases, irreversible decline. I'm not saying your cat talking back is dangerous, but I am saying context matters, frequency matters, tone matters, timing matters. So how do you know the difference between healthy communication and a hidden red flag? That's where part 2 gets critical, because the next section breaks down the 4 types of talking back. Which ones are normal? Which ones experts warn you must avoid ignoring? And the specific vocal change that has been linked to neurological decline. If your cat talks back daily, you need to understand this. Let's go deeper. In part 2, the 4 types of talking back, and the one most owners misread. Before we go further, answer this honestly. When your cat talks back, does it feel playful, demanding, or slightly different than it used to? Because this is where most owners get it wrong. They assume all vocalization is personality. But feline communication experts break talking back into *** 4 distinct categories, and each one means something very different. If you do know which one you're hearing, you might be reinforcing manipulation. Or worse, ignoring a warning sign. Let's break them down. Type 1, the learned conversationalist. This is the one people love. You speak. Your cat replies immediately. You pause. They respond again. It feels like a rhythm. A back and forth exchange. Hear what's actually happening. Your cat has learned your vocal cadence. They recognize pauses in your speech. And they insert their sound strategically. Not randomly. Strategically. Studies on feline-human interaction show that cats are highly sensitive to human tone shifts, especially rising pitch at sentence endings. So when you say, "Are you hungry?" that rising tone triggers expectation. And they answer. But here, the key question. Do they stop when you stop? If yes, this is normal social bonding behavior. If no, if they escalate, get louder, sharper, more urgent. That's not conversation anymore. That's demand reinforcement. And that shift is subtle, but powerful. Type 2, the escalator demand vocalization. This one builds slowly. At first, it's cute. Your cat meows at the kitchen. You feed them. The next day, they meow earlier. You feed them again. Then earlier. Then louder. Then longer. Eventually, they aren't responding to you. They're initiating. And here's the psychological twist. Intermittent rewards make behaviors stronger. If you sometimes ignore them, but sometimes give in, you create a behavioral jackpot system. And this is where owners accidentally create what vets describe as chronic attention-seeking cycles. Symptoms include meowing at closed doors, vocalizing at 3-5 a.m., following you room to room, increasing volume when ignored, vocalizing directly into your face. Now ask yourself something. Has your cat talking back become more intense over time? If yes, you may have unknowingly trained the escalation. But before you feel guilty, there's something more serious we need to discuss. Because not all escalation is behavioral. Some of it is biological. Type 3, the stress signaler, the one most people miss. This is the dangerous one. And it doesn't look dramatic. It looks subtle. It often begins as increased chatter at night, random vocalization in empty rooms, meowing near walls, talking back when touched, meowing after using the litter box. Most owners interpret it as they're just being vocal. But hear what experts warn. Sudden or progressive increases in vocalization can signal underlying medical shifts. Let's talk specifics. Hyperthyroidism. One of the most common endocrine disorders in older cats. Symptoms include increased appetite, weight loss, restlessness, excessive vocalization. Cats with hyperthyroidism often sound urgent, almost distressed. And because they're eating normally, owners assume everything is fine. But internally, the metabolic system is overstimulated. Left untreated, it can cause heart complications, high blood pressure, organ strain, irreversible damage. And sometimes, the first noticeable symptom is talking more. Cognitive dysfunction, feline dementia. This one is heartbreaking and underdiagnosed. Cats over age 10 may begin vocalizing at night, appearing disoriented, meowing at walls, forgetting litter habits, seeking reassurance constantly. Owners describe it the same way every time. He just started talking all the time. But what's actually happening? Brain aging, neurological changes, confusion. And because cats hide weakness, they vocalize instead of collapsing. If your cat talks back primarily at night, that's not sass. That's data. And it must not be ignored. Type 4, the pain masker. This one is the quiet manipulator of perception, because it disguises discomfort as interaction. Let me ask you this. Has your cat ever started talking more when you touch a certain area? Or after jumping down? Or when picked up? Some cats vocalize in response to joint pain, dental pain, internal discomfort. But they don't hiss. They don't scratch. They just answer you. Repeatedly. Because the vocalization becomes displacement behavior. Instead of showing weakness, they communicate unease. Subtly. This is especially common in arthritis, dental infections, urinary tract inflammation, gastrointestinal discomfort. And here's the part that shocks most owners. By the time a cat shows obvious physical symptoms, the issue has often progressed significantly, which means early vocal changes matter. More than you think. The nighttime red flag. Let's isolate something important. Night vocalization. If your cat wanders and cries at 2-4 a.m., seems confused, meows into darkness, stops when you respond, you must ask, is this habit or neurological? Experts warn that repeated night disorientation vocalization in senior cats may indicate cognitive dysfunction syndrome, and early intervention makes a measurable difference. But most owners dismiss it as zoomies, and by the time they seek help, the damage is harder to manage. How to tell the difference, critical. So how do you separate normal conversational bonding from hidden biological distress? Ask yourself these 5 questions. 1. Did the behavior change suddenly? 2. Has the frequency increased noticeably? 3. Does it happen at unusual times? 4. Is it paired with appetite or weight changes? 5. Does your cat seem restless or unsettled? If you answered yes to 2 or more, it's time to consult a vet. Not panic. Consult. Because early detection prevents irreversible consequences. And that's empowerment, not fear. The manipulation myth. Now let's circle back to something uncomfortable. Are cats manipulating us? Short answer. Yes. But not maliciously. Cats repeat behaviors that produce outcomes. If vocalizing gets food, they'll vocalize. If talking back gets affection, they'll talk. But here, where owners lose control, when they respond emotionally instead of consistently, that inconsistency creates escalation, which creates frustration, which damages the bond, and ironically, leads owners to label their cat as annoying, when in reality, the communication loop was reinforced unintentionally. The micro-shift that changes everything. There's one small behavioral shift that signals deeper issues. It's not volume. It's not frequency. It's tone quality. If your cat's voice becomes raspy, strained, lower than usual, more urgent, more repetitive, that is not personality growth. That is physical change. And it requires attention. Because vocal cord strain can also indicate respiratory irritation, throat inflammation, tumors, allergies, or underlying systemic stress. It's rare, but it happens, and awareness saves lives. Now here, where part 3 gets even more revealing. Because we're about to expose something most owners never consider. Some breeds are genetically predisposed to excessive vocalization. Some companies encourage it. And some viral behaviors you see online are actually stress responses misinterpreted as intelligence. If your cat seems extra chatty compared to others, you need to understand why and what it might really mean. Part 3 goes deeper into breed manipulation, social media myths, Behavioral mislabeling, and the long-term psychological impact of overtalking cats. Because when cats start talking back, it's never random. #clapperboard Part 3, the truth they don't post on social media. Let's start with something uncomfortable. Why do some cats talk back constantly, while others barely make a sound? Is it personality, intelligence, or something we've selectively romanticized online? Because here's what most viral videos won't tell you. Not all talking back is healthy communication. Sometimes it's genetic wiring. Sometimes it's environmental stress. And sometimes it's human-created dependency. And if you misunderstand which one you're dealing with, you can accidentally create long-term behavioral damage. Let's expose what's really happening. #the breed factor no one talks about. Have you noticed something? Most viral, argumentative cats are Siamese, Oriental Shorthairs, Bengals, Maine Coons, Sphinx. Coincidence? Not even close. Certain breeds were selectively developed for heightened vocal interaction. Siamese cats, for example, are genetically predisposed to louder vocal cords, stronger social dependency, higher attachment behaviors, persistent attention-seeking. They are not just chatty. They are biologically wired to demand engagement. Now ask yourself, is your cat naturally vocal or genetically programmed to be? Because here's the hidden danger. When high vocal breeds don't receive structured engagement, they escalate, which leads to anxiety-driven vocalization, overattachment, destructive behavior, night disturbances, and owners misinterpret it as sass. But it's unmet stimulation. This is where most people get it wrong. They think talking back equals personality. But sometimes talking back equals psychological need. #the social media illusion. Scroll TikTok. Scroll YouTube Shorts. You'll see captions like, "My cat argues with me every morning. He won't let me finish a sentence. She screams until I answer." Adorable. Relatable. Viral. But here's what you're not seeing. The 10 minutes before the clip. The 20 minutes after. The repetitive pattern behind the camera. What looks like spontaneous conversation is often rehearsed reinforcement. Owner speaks. Cat responds. Owner laughs. Cat gets attention. Cycle strengthens. Over weeks and months, the behavior becomes chronic. And here's the twist. Some cats develop vocal anxiety loops. They begin to feel unsettled without constant interaction, which leads to separation stress, hypervocalization when alone, increased cortisol levels, yes, stress hormones, and chronic stress in cats can lead to digestive issues, weakened immune response, urinary tract inflammation, behavioral aggression, that cute arguing. Sometimes it's pressure, and we don't talk about that enough. #the hidden cost of constant vocal reinforcement. Let's go deeper. When cats realize that vocalization equals control, they begin testing boundaries. It starts small. A meow at the door. You open it. A meow at the bowl. You refill it. A meow at your bedroom. You let them in. But then something shifts. They begin meowing before the need exists. Not because they're hungry. Not because they're lonely. Because they're maintaining control. And this doesn't make them manipulative villains. It makes them adaptive learners. But here's the risk. Owners begin living reactively. Sleep disruption, frustration, irritation, and that emotional tension changes the tone of the home. Cats are extremely sensitive to human stress levels. So now the cycle intensifies. You become more reactive. They become louder. You become more frustrated. They escalate further. Until one day, the cute talking back feels overwhelming. This is how bonds slowly strain. Not dramatically. Quietly. Over time. When talking back becomes a dependency pattern. Here's a question most owners never ask. Does your cat know how to self-soothe? Or have they learned to outsource regulation to you? If your cat immediately vocalizes when you leave the room, meows continuously until you respond, becomes distressed without constant engagement, you may be reinforcing emotional dependency. And dependency isn't love. It's anxiety masked as attachment. Experts warn that overhumanizing feline communication can create mismatched expectations. Cats are not small humans. They don't debate. They don't argue. They don't sass. They condition. They react. They adapt. And when we mislabel that adaptation as personality, we ignore what it might be signaling. The long-term behavioral consequences. Let's talk about something rarely discussed. Chronic vocalization can evolve into territorial aggression, resource guarding, irritability, sudden biting, litter box aversion. Why? Because unresolved stimulation imbalance builds internal tension. Think about it. If your cat craves constant response, doesn't receive structured enrichment, gets inconsistent reinforcement, their nervous system stays activated. And long-term nervous system activation equals stress. Stress equals inflammation. Inflammation equals disease risk. That's not dramatic. That's physiology. This is why some vets quietly advise structured interaction windows. Not constant conversation. Structured engagement. Because unpredictability fuels escalation. The intelligence myth. Here's a controversial truth. Some viral, talking back clips are stress chatter. Not intelligence. Cats will vocalize rapidly in high arousal states. Excitement. Frustration. Anticipation. And humans interpret that as dialogue. But if you watch closely, you'll notice signs like dilated pupils, tail flicking, overgrooming afterward, sudden zoomies. Those are arousal markers, not conversational brilliance. And mistaking arousal for intelligence can lead owners to push interaction further, which pushes stress higher, which reinforces the cycle. Again, this isn't about fear. It's about awareness. So what should you actually do? This is where everything shifts. Because the goal isn't to silence your cat. It's to understand them. When cats start talking back, you must ask, is this bonding? Is this boredom? Is this biological? Or is this behavioral conditioning? Once you answer that, you regain control of the dynamic. And that leads us to the most important part of this entire documentary. Because now we move from exposure to protection. Clapperboard Part 4, How to Respond the Right Way Without CRETNG Take a breath. Because this isn't about panic. It's about clarity. Your cat talking back isn't automatically dangerous. But how you respond determines everything. Let's build your safety framework. Step 1, track before you react. For 1 week, observe. Time of day vocalization happens. Frequency. Context, food, attention, random. Body language. Patterns reveal truth. If it's predictable and situational. Behavioral. If it's sudden and unexplained. Medical check recommended. Tracking removes guesswork. Step 2, eliminate intermittent reinforcement. This is critical. If you want to reduce demand vocalization, do not respond sometimes. and respond other times. That strengthens it. Instead, choose structured response windows. For example, feeding happens at fixed times. Attention happens after calm behavior. Doors open only when quiet. Consistency rewires patterns. Inconsistency fuels escalation. Step 3. Increase environmental enrichment. Many argumentative cats are understimulated. Add puzzle feeders, vertical climbing spaces, scheduled play sessions, window perches, rotating toys. Mental stimulation reduces vocal demand. A stimulated cat speaks less urgently because their needs are met proactively. Step 4. Watch for medical clues. Never ignore sudden changes. Red flags include weight changes, night confusion, appetite shifts, excessive thirst, raspy vocal tone, disorientation. If present, consult a vet. Early detection prevents irreversible damage. Step 5. Use calm vocal mirroring. Instead of escalating emotionally, lower your tone. Slow your speech. Respond briefly. Cats mirror energy. High energy fuels vocal cycles. Calm energy stabilizes them. The final reveal. Here's the truth. When cats start talking back, it's not random. It's not sass. It's not rebellion. It's communication shaped by biology, environment, reinforcement, health. And once you understand that, you stop reacting emotionally and start responding intelligently. That's how you protect the bond. That's how you prevent silent damage. That's how you build trust. Not dependency. Not frustration. Trust. Now I want to ask you something important. Backhand index pointing down, which type shocked you the most? Was it the medical signals, the reinforcement loop, the breed factor, or the stress cycle? And be honest. Have you unknowingly reinforced any of these patterns? Comment below, because your experience might help another owner catch something early. And if this opened your eyes even slightly, subscribe before the next hidden behavior goes unnoticed. Because what you feed your cat may be affecting their brain chemistry more than their voice. Watch that next. Your cat may be saying more than you think. Let's go deeper.